Launch created a proprietary tool, a weighted measuring tool, to look at buildings in neighborhoods and decide this building, based on our expertise, has a higher propensity for success than the buildings on both sides of it. So I'm going to share with you the 12 weighted measures that Launch looks at to evaluate what the likelihood of success will be in your building. So this is important. Point number one, the proximity of competition. So if you're on any street, any town, a good operator is going to want to know who else is in the neighborhood that provides flexible offerings. They're also going to want to look at what other buildings are in the neighborhood that have space enough to evaluate to see if flex is going to be a good idea in that building. So proximity of competition has two parts, right? What other coworking operators exist nearby, and what other buildings exist that may be more successful than yours to host flexible space. Number two, what's the quality of that competition? And we can break that down into two pieces. Quality meaning, are they doing well? Is it a regional brand, a national brand, a mom and pop shop, meaning they're small, they're local, they don't have a huge presence? Or is the space premium? Is it built out to the nines and it's amazing? Is it kind of lesser space, maybe not trophy space, maybe in building terms it's an A or a high B? Or is the space low budget? Is it kind of C building category space where kind of as is the rule? That's important. Number three, what professional management services are in the building, right? What is your property management team? What do they do to currently engage tenants to create a community in the building, to create an ecosystem in the building? How good are they at it? And how important is it currently in your building? The next one will be a little surprising to building owners. We evaluate what's your entrepreneurial strength. And that's a big one, right? So are you in this because, hey, I have no other choice but to try co-working? Or on the other end of the spectrum, are you in this because I see this flexible entry point into my building as a way to create more value, more visibility, more boots on the ground in my building? I like smaller companies because they can grow into larger companies. I like flexible space because sometimes larger companies or larger spaces have to shrink into smaller spaces. So, do you have an entrepreneurial spirit as a building owner or landlord? That's it's very heavily weighted on who we want to partner with, because obviously the more entrepreneurial you are, the easier it is to understand the proposition and the value of what flex will do for your building. Next one is kind of obvious, the capital strength of the ownership. Are you upside down on half of your portfolio? Are you cross-collateralized? As much as we can learn from owners, what's your capital stack? Not only in the building we're interested in, but is your portfolio kind of leaking oil on one end, right? You're going to have to do something with good assets to save bad, a little less appealing. Or what's the strength of this building and the rest of your company? Tied together with entrepreneurial strength and your capital stack, what's your risk tolerance on this? Are you willing to, depending on what type of agreement you have, right? You have some risk in the game, just like with any tenant. Are you willing to go all in and say, this is really important and I need this to help my building grow and maximize its value? Are you in a defensive posture where, hey, I'm upside down on the building, I'm over leveraged, I've got a balloon payment coming in 8 months, I can't tolerate any risk at all, and somewhere in between. I think the way underwriting is today in the capital markets, there's a certain level of risk with everything. And it's just what's your willingness and your appetite on that. And it's important to partner with an owner where we understand what that is. Next ones are a little more obvious. And I mean, what class of the building do you have? Are you an A trophy, an A, a B, a C? And ideally, your coworking operator inside of that building should match the class of the building that you have, right? You're not going to have a C building and build out a $200 a foot premium coworking center. Those don't match up. So you want to be able to match the product, the coworking operator, with the level of quality of the building, right? It seems common sense, but something you should consider. Parking is another big deal. And the only reason it's a big deal is your parking significantly different or unique in your neighborhood than everyone else? So if you're in an urban environment and everybody has to pay to park, okay, everybody has to pay to park. If you're in a suburban environment and there's free parking everywhere around you, but you have paid parking, then that's a challenge. That's a hurdle that we have to overcome. And there's tricky ways to do it, but it's just up front. It's easier to consider that when you're building pro formas and marketing plans on how are we going to overcome that than it is to find that out the day you open and people are like, well, you're the only place that made me park in town. Doesn't make sense. So a lot of this is the more you know up front, just like anything else, the less kind of gotchas you get as you go through the process. The final two are, again, probably common sense to a building owner. What amenities are in the building? And what do you do with those amenities? Which is probably not as easy of a thought as what amenities do I have, right? There was a period in DC right after COVID where everybody started building gyms and lounges and different words for lounges. And, you know, if you're one of 20 buildings on a street and all of you build a fitness center, then it suddenly becomes a commodity, right? Everybody has it, which means it's useless. Nobody has it. Unless what you do with it is different than everyone else. So what do I mean by that? Is we talk a lot of the use of the word activating space, right? The term activating space. So if I'm on a street in DC and there's 6 A buildings in a row, and all of them have a fitness center on the second floor with glass overlooking a park, right? There's no advantage to anybody. You all have the same amenity. But if one of those buildings has an active amenity, I have sunrise yoga, I have cycling classes, I have events throughout the month in that space that are attended and popular, right? Now, I'm different than every building on the street who just says, yeah, I've got a fitness center and I'll activate your fob. It's available 24 hours a day and there's a locker room. So the list of amenities is important. And as a subcategory, the activation of those amenities, again, something you might not think about as easily, is more important. And then, of course, we look at just the vacancy. Kind of what's the stack of tenants in the building. We don't think that 100% of the building should be flexible. That's a trend that came and is sort of leaving. our industry, it's difficult to take any building over 60 to 100,000 feet and make it entirely flexible. A lot of people have tried that. Some are doing okay. Some are giving buildings back. What we suggest is a healthy mix of long-term prime tenants, right? You always want them. Prime tenants that are 3 to 5 to 7 year tenants, so not 10-year deals. We want what we call kind of plug-and-play suites where they're smaller. They can share a common conference room and meeting area on a floor that are managed by a co-working operator, where you've got flexibility. You could be in there 3 months, 9 months, 20 months. And then obviously your hot desks and private offices, like pure flexible amenities or space somewhere else in the building. So if you've got a building that's 90% vacant and we're flex, it's doable. You just have to have some patience. If you have a building that's 95% occupied and you put some flex in it, it's a good idea as well, so you can start to fill the funnel in case some of your tenants, churn on their termination dates. And there's probably more than 12 of these categories that you can look at. But what we found over the last 10 years is if we put weighted averages on these and we come out with a score, and depending on where you score on a range of 0 to 100, we have a pretty reliable history on how well financially the location is going to do. So this evaluation process, there's more details in our ebook on our website if you want to download it. If anybody has any questions about this or wants to learn more about it, certainly hit me on LinkedIn or leave a comment. But it's an interesting perspective that I don't think a lot of owners and landlords understand. We do as much homework on you, if not more, probably than you do on us, or at least a wider field of evaluation versus what's your financial strength. Any questions, let me know. If you think I'm wrong, tell me. Talk to you soon.